is there an opposite of overthinking, right? Like, what would the opposite of overthinking be? I was like, is it possible to like overbe? And really, there is no possible way to overbe. You cannot be too much yourself. But I think that when we get into that state where we're like so fully like in connection with ourselves and in that flow phase, it's a beautiful place to be. You are listening to the Beyond the Classroom podcast, a podcast for burnt out teachers who know something's gotta give. After teaching for 14 years and feeling completely burned out for way too long, in May of 2022, I made a big decision and left the classroom. I now help burnt out teachers like you take back balance and joy so you can wake up every day loving your life. In this podcast, we'll explore who you are beyond the classroom, whether you're considering leaving or wanting to make changes so you can fall in love with teaching again. Either way, I understand what it's like to be living a life that looks fun and cute on the outside. You know, summer's off, playing all day, off at 2 o'clock every day, but actually feels miserable and draining. I'm your host and coach, Sandy Patterson, and I'm so excited to help you step into your fullest potential and believe in that potential to make an impact on the world, not just survive each day. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Classroom podcast. I'm so happy you're here. I am Sandy Patterson, certified life and business coach, and I am so happy to chat with you today. How are you doing today? Hopefully you're doing great. We have another beautiful sunny day here. The sun is shining. It's just going to be a good day. Not that it can't be a good day when the sun isn't shining too, though. I love rainy days too. It doesn't rain very often here where I live, though. Okay. Anyways, I am so excited to share with you today. This episode came to me from a conversation that I had with one of my coaches, and it just was very, like, as I started to unpack this and really just take time to think about this, it was very enlightening to me and very eye-opening, I think. So I wanted to share this with you because I'm going to probably guess that you are probably like me in the sense that you overthink, right? So many women I talk to are overthinkers. We are in our heads so much all the time, questioning everything. We overanalyze every little thought, every little decision, every choice that we make. And it can honestly get physically exhausting, like being in your head a lot and all the time. And I'm guessing that you probably know what I mean. Then the opposite of that, other times, right, where you're in this space of flow. I'm going to call it a flow space, okay, where everything just seems to be working, things feel easy, everything kind of comes easily, things happen as they should, thoughts and ideas come to you. There's not really stress, right? It's just that flow state. So I've been in both of these states. I know that I'm usually in this overthinking state more often than not. And this space of flow is not as prevalent in my life as I would like. And this is something that I've worked on both personally and that I'm working on currently with my clients, because when we're overthinking, we're not flowing and things seem much more difficult, and there's just a lot more resistance happening. Like, I was just talking to one of my clients and she was like, I just had when you have those terrible mornings and just like one thing happens after the next, I feel like when you are in that overthinking state, like that's when those like days and moments and hours happen where it's just like one thing after the next. And when you're in that flow state, like I said, everything just feels really easy. And that's really where I know for me, that's where I would rather be, in that flow state. So today we're going to talk about strategies to get out of our own heads. Doesn't that sound nice, right? Yes, it does. It sounds good to me. Now, I got really curious, and I was asking myself, my coach, the universe, the world, whatever, I was asking, why is this? Like, why do we overthink? And I think that this is especially prevalent for women who are running or starting a business, for moms, for people that are working a full-time job and then also starting a business, and really just women in general, right? And we'll talk about why that is in a second. Because I don't know about you, but I really get physically tired of overthinking. Like I get tired of being in my own head. Like I'm like, this is exhausting. How do I get out of here? And when we think about why this is, why we overthink so much, like why do we do this? And then I got to thinking like, why do men, or at least a lot of the men that I know, not have an issue with overthinking, right? And I think about my husband, who is like the most chill person in the entire world. Like nothing can faze this guy. And I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I just am like, how are you not in this space? He's like always in that flow space. And I think for women, right, we have a natural tendency to want to be liked and accepted and to please others, right? We want to be right. We want to have it all together, or at least we want it to appear that way to others. And we worry about other people perceive us. And I think that all of these things together leads to the overthinking and the questioning our decisions and the questioning our gut and questioning what we're doing, right? And why is this, right? So I was really just trying to keep peeling back the layers. Like why, like a 2-year-old, right? Why is this? Why? Now, I believe a big part of why women are in this overthinking, overanalyzing state is the societal conditioning that has women constantly overthinking and questioning ourselves, right? And this really got me thinking of that Barbie movie, right? Have you seen the Barbie movie? It's really good. If you haven't seen it, I really, really enjoyed it. And in the movie, America Ferrera, one of the characters, she has the most beautiful monologue. And I'm going to quote some of it, not all of it. Like I said, if you haven't seen the movie, you definitely should. But she says, "It is literally impossible to be a woman. We have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. It's too hard. It's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault." And I think this quote, I know this quote or this monologue really resonated with a lot of women, and that's just a part of it. But I think that it gives a really good illustration as to why we overthink and why we are constantly overthinking. And it causes self-doubt, it causes imposter syndrome, and the belief that boundaries are selfish, right? And the worst part about this is that these things, the overthinking, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, and no boundaries are selfish, all of that is that's normal for women. When you come across somebody that doesn't have those things, or a woman that doesn't have those things, it's out of the norm. So today, what we have to do is we have to work on breaking down and unpacking and rewriting and deciding that these beliefs and these behaviors are not working for us anymore, and that we have the power to change them. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today in a small way, okay? And as I was talking to my own coach about this, I was trying to identify, when am I in that flow state? What allows me to be in that space? What makes it easy to be in that flow state? Because essentially that's where we all want to be all the time, right? And usually it's those moments when I give myself just time to be and to just kind of think. Now, when I say to just be and to think, I don't even mean a still, quiet, dark room, meditating, anything like that. I'm talking about when I'm not specifically forcing myself to try to think about something. I am not doing work. I don't have a project. I'm not having a conversation. I'm just kind of being and there. And the other day I was vacuuming, right? I was just vacuuming. It's fine. Vacuuming the house. And I had all these really great ideas come to me, and I felt really in that flow state, right? I was vacuuming. I was just being, right? Just being and allowing myself to just think and to let things come into my brain. And we can call this free thinking time. And again, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes of time to just be still and meditate or anything like that. It's just time where you are not forcing yourself to think or do anything specific, right? And when you're not focused or thinking about anything specific, that's typically when these great ideas and thoughts and feelings will come into your brain, right? And this essentially is your intuition. Okay, now it took me a hot second to connect the dots here. So I'm going to try to connect them for you, how I connected them in my brain, and maybe this will click for you. For whatever reason, I have for a very long time, like until last week, only associated your intuition with making decisions. So like you only need to rely, or I thought this is not true. Like I was thinking in my head, I don't know why, that you only really need to access your intuition when you're trying to make a decision. And usually, like typically I would think about it as like a big decision. Like what does your gut say? Which way should you go? Which one should you choose? But in reality, your intuition is always there and it's always inside of you. It's like gravity, right? You cannot turn gravity on or off. It's just always there. And you'll notice gravity, like right now, when you really pay attention to it, right? And just like that, you notice your intuition when you're in that flow state and it has a chance to come out, and you also have the chance to notice it. So being in your intuition in this flow state is literally the opposite of overthinking, right? It's that state of being truly in yourself and trusting yourself and trusting that whatever comes out or whatever comes in or whatever comes to you is exactly what is supposed to be. It's that like very, very deep trust in yourself. And as I was talking to my coach, I was like, oh my goodness, realizing these things. And I was realizing that essentially being in that flow state and being with your intuition is the exact opposite of overthinking. And then I started to wonder, this conversation got kind of deep, and I'm just sharing this, of course, to share with you, but also to document this thinking for me because I want to look back on this someday. I started to wonder, is there an opposite of overthinking, right? Like what would the opposite of overthinking be? Like over being? Like, I was like, is it possible to like over be? And really, there is no possible way to overbe. You cannot be too much yourself. But I think that when we get into that state where we're like so fully like in connection with ourselves and in that flow phase, it's a beautiful place to be, right? Okay, so now let's talk about ways to catch yourself in this overthinking state, right? And how to get back into the flow with your intuition. This is going to take some intentionality, but it feels a lot better when you're in your flow state, right? And I would think that you probably agree with me on that one. We feel more ourselves, we feel more productive or more creative. Things are just less stress, there's less anxiety, less overthinking, right? So I'm going to walk you through a 5-step process when you start to feel yourself in this overthinking phase, okay? And you can just try it out, see how it feels, and just go for it, right? Okay, so number 1 is noticing. Like you have to notice that this is happening in order to change it. If you don't notice something or recognize something, there is literally no way to change it or alter it, right? So you have to start noticing when you're in this phase of like overthinking. And for me, I will physically start to feel it too. Like I feel physically tired, like my body will feel tired. And the feelings that come up for me when I'm in this overthinking phase and I'm like thinking too much, I feel really defeated and I feel physically exhausted, almost like deflated, right? And again, not the place that I want to be. So that's number 1 is just noticing. See if you can notice when you are in this phase, right? Or when you're when you're in this phase and you're just like, I'm thinking too much. I need to get out of my head. Number 2 is ask yourself, does this actually matter? Or is this actually true, right? Because a lot of the times it doesn't actually matter. And I don't mean that in a way that like your thoughts don't matter. I mean that in a way of like, oftentimes what we'll do is we'll take something that is not even a problem or is not even an issue or may not even be a problem in the future. And we start to create this story and that we play it out in our heads of how it might turn out or how it might go. And we do the same with the past too, right? Like we think about how things went and all the things that we should have said and all the things I wish I could have said in the moment or things I wish I had have done instead. So it's essentially these overthinking thoughts are taking us out of the present moment, right? Another question here. So the questions are, ask yourself, does this actually really matter or is it actually true? And another question is, am I magnifying this to be something it's not or it doesn't need to be? Again, oftentimes, yes, we do this. We magnify things in our minds and make problems for ourselves out of nothing. I do this. Well, I did this all the time because once I started noticing, I was really able to ask myself these questions, and then it kind of puts like a stop to it, right? Like it stops my brain from continuing along this like path of like worst case scenario. Okay, so number 1 is noticing. Number 2 is asking yourself, does this actually matter? Is it true? And am I magnifying this? Okay. Now, number 3 is to gently remind yourself that you're magnifying the situation, right? And I say gently, and I emphasize that word because there is no purpose in beating ourselves up over this. There is no purpose in like getting angry with ourselves or shaming ourselves or being like, oh, look at what I'm doing again. We really need to just give ourselves grace. So gently and kindly and nicely, as you would remind a friend, right? Remind yourself that you're magnifying this, like, hey, you're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be. This doesn't actually matter, or this isn't actually true. Number 4 is to detach from that moment for just a second. Now, again, I don't know why I always think it has to be like this big chunk of time or like 20 to 30 minutes to meditate, and it has to be quiet, and my kids need to, be quiet, and there needs to be nice music on. But really, when I say detach from that moment for a second, I literally mean a second, and you can do this anywhere. It might just be a few deep breaths, right? It just might be closing your eyes for a second and breathing. It might be just taking a second to feel the ground underneath your feet to kind of ground yourself and realign again. This doesn't take a long time. It doesn't need to be anything dramatic. It doesn't need to be planned. It doesn't need to be set up, and it doesn't need to be anything except what is going to bring you back into the moment, into that current moment for just a few seconds, right? And then number 5, give yourself some free thinking time. We talked about free thinking time in the beginning of this episode, and free thinking time, I'm defining it as time where you are not intentionally thinking about anything specific. Okay, so you're not sitting down to do work. You're not sitting down to accomplish something. You are not having I guess it could be a conversation with somebody else if it's not really guided or structured. This is just where you kind of let ideas and thoughts come and go as they please. And again, it does not have to be planned out. It doesn't have to be a big, production. It can just be like me last week, like when I was vacuuming, I was like, I'm just going to vacuum and I'm just going to let my brain like do whatever it wants, right? And that's when I had these great ideas. I had these great thoughts come to me, and I was like, yes, it's funny when that happened when I was vacuuming. I had something I was trying to come up with. I had been trying to come up with it for like 2 weeks, I think, at the time. And it's almost like us teaching when you tell the kids like, okay, boys and girls, it is writing time. Like take out your pencil and your piece of paper, and then nothing, like they sit down and they're like, I have nothing to write about. And you're like, no, you have a lot to write about. And you help them kind of work through that. For me, this was kind of that situation. Like I knew that I had the answers, but I just could not wrap my head around them. I knew I had this idea. I just couldn't access it yet. And so once I gave myself that time to just kind of like not force it, that's when those ideas came to me. That's when I was like, yes, this is what I've been looking for these past 2 weeks. And it came to me during that free thinking time, right? You kind of just let those ideas come and go as they please. You're not trying to force a thought or idea. You're just, again, being, and you're in your intuition. You're in that intuitive state. And while you do this, you just trust that whatever is supposed to come to you, it will. And the beautiful thing about this is that 100% of the time, guess what? It always does. It always does. Even if it doesn't come in that exact moment, it will come to you. It always does. But this is where, again, you have to be really, really intentional, right? You have to intentionally say, I want to notice, I want to notice when I'm overthinking because I want to change it. I don't like that. And then you've got to ask yourself those questions. You have to gently remind yourself, bring yourself back that you're magnifying probably a situation. And then number 4, detach from that moment for just a second and then be intentional about giving yourself that free thinking time. And it can happen in different ways, different times. I guess for me, it's vacuuming. I know a lot of people when they're walking the dog or, just being those moments. Driving, a lot of people I think will go for drives and be like, that's one of my best ideas. In the shower, right? Those are all great places to just be and give yourself free thinking time intentionally and let that intuition really let it come out and feel into it and just see what pops up for you. Okay, you guys, I would love to hear if you are an overthinker and how this all resonates with you. This was a lot, like I said, and it was kind of deep, but I hope that it helps you at least take that first step into recognizing that overthinking is not actually productive or serving you, right? We can move a lot quicker. We can move a lot smoother. We can move with a lot more ease when we're in that flow state, right? And I hope that this has also helped you start to think about how to move out of that overthinking state and into your flow state, right? Where you can get stuff done, where you're creative, where you're productive, and where you're flowing, right? That is my whole hope for you in this episode. So would love to hear, please hop on over to Instagram, shoot me a message if this resonated with you, or let me know which one of these you're going to try, which one you did try or you are trying, and let me know how it goes. I would love to hear. So until the next episode, you guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Beyond the Classroom. If you know something has to change and you're ready to take the next step to make it happen, whether it's in or out of the classroom, let's talk it through together. Schedule a no-obligation chat with me and we can talk through where you're stuck, how to get you unstuck, and how to keep you moving forward. Schedule your free call today by clicking the link in the show notes. I can't wait to connect with you.